What's up, guys, and welcome to Figuring Out with the Pontons. My name's Hayden.
And I'm Josh, and well, we're figuring it out. So, this is the podcast where nothing is off limits as we discuss what it looks like to do marriage,
Family,
business,
health.
ministry, and so much more as we keep Christ at the center of it all. Episode 3.
It's the pause.
Oh, this morning was fun.
Yeah.
It was a blast.
So much fun.
Yeah, Casey threw up 3 times, exorcism style, water everywhere.
You could say projectile. You don't have to say that.
I can't say exorcism. Is that like
It's too much.
exorcisms
It
happen?
was like Pitch Perfect projectile. That's what it was like. So hopefully you've seen Pitch Perfect so you can really understand that analogy. But it was, yeah.
Yeah, she threw up right by our bed on the carpet. Then she threw up again in the bathroom right next to our bedroom.
But why?
And then she threw up in the toilet like 3 times
But why?
because she could not swallow a pill.
Yes, we were trying to coach her through swallowing a pill, and she has before. So this was maybe something new that came up, but everything's new all the time. She was leaning her head back, hoping it would really just like flow down instead of like swallowing it like we swallow food. And she wasn't grasping that concept, no matter how many times you told her. And she starts gagging, and I said, "Go to the toilet." Instead, she's 1.5 steps away from the actual toilet, and she's just staring, and I'm like, "Go to the toilet, go to the toilet." And Josh is like, "No, just swallow it,
And
just swallow it."
I'm yelling.
And I'm yelling, "Go to the toilet." And he's like,
I'm
"Just
giving the
swallow
tough
it."
love. But it's like, and this is where, as a father, sometimes like, I can take it too far. Is I'm like, I'm giving tough love. I'm like, you do not move right there. Like, you're going to swallow that pill. Swallow that pill.
And
I'm
I'm
like
like-
yelling at her to swallow the pill. And then what does she do? She ends up barfing everywhere.
And I only do throw up very like minimally, but I've had Casey in my lap while she's puking into a grocery sack on our couch before, because that's like the mom in me. I can handle that. But whenever it was something that was like controllable and she just starts going, I was like, I'm out. I'm out. I literally walked out, didn't have my contacts in, couldn't see anything, and I was like, y'all figure it out.
That's not what happened. She walks out and she's yelling at me.
I told him to help him. No, I didn't say it was your fault.
Because I told her to not go to the bathroom. And so
I didn't say it was
because
your
it's my fault,
fault.
she's yelling at me that I have to clean it up. And she passive aggressively brings me the Clorox, some gloves, and a roll of napkins and says, "You are cleaning this up." And so, of course, me being the loving and just benevolent, Christian that I am, I got up and I cleaned it up. That's not what I did.
Not at all. He said he laid down in the bed still and was coaching Casey on how to clean up her throw up, which it was a good lesson. We all are there, but it was a very dramatic morning. But we're here and we're all okay. We've all had food now, and we're fine.
Yeah. And I think that gets us into the purpose of this podcast today is like talk about one of the biggest things that we're figuring out with a 9 and 8-year-old in a co-parenting situation is how do we do parenting? How do we do parenting while keeping Christ at the center of it? And I think part of it is understanding that we are still and will continuously be figuring out because every single year they're different, and that's the nature of parenting. I think it's a great example of, they always use, like God's our father, right? Christ, like we kind of put it as a father figure and it's a parenting situation. And it's like that same walk with Christ is the same way that it is with our kids, is that every single year it's a different person, right? Every single day, right? Every single week, right?
Yeah,
It's
every
a
week.
developing person,
Yeah.
just like we're different as we grow in our faith. We see that with the kids. And so it's one of those things where, this morning is a testament to that. We will always be figuring out, and there are going to be, it's funny. That story's funny now, but in the moment, right?
Was it funny?
It wasn't funny. It was kind of a crap show
Yeah.
over here in the morning. But we're here. And so I guess let's dive into, for us, what that looks like. And I think the first part is, what are the challenges of it? For you, you came into the girls' lives when they were 2 and 3, right?
Yeah.
And then Harley, I came into her life when she was 1, maybe like a little bit before that is when I met her mother, and we started, dating and everything, and I fell in love with Harley, and, I've raised her since she was 1.
Yeah.
And so for you, what are some of the hardest things, even back then, like when coming into being a I don't want to say stepmom, but like a
bonus
bonus
mom.
mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I am their stepmom, and I'm like so proud of that and excited for it. I think some of the biggest challenges at the very beginning was we were in a high pressure role when we were at the gym, and the fact of like the evenings were crazy. And so for me, it always started out like, how am I like super fun and exciting for them? But then also there were so many things, and I'm trying to like help out and then like do my job and all the things. So it got a little crazy, and I loved them so much. But I was like, I always worked with kids, and I've always loved kids so much. But it was really a figuring out like, what am I to them? How do I care for them? Because when I was in high school and college and work with kids, it was easy for me to like guide them and help them because we were in a fun environment. But then when I was, around the girls more often, I'm like, do I discipline them? Do I tell them no? I think that was like the hardest part at the beginning. And as time has evolved, we're still figuring that out for sure. But just like understanding my role more. But I think that was the first thing of, do I discipline them? Do I tell them no? Um, where does that journey start? So I always just tried to like be fun, and I always had to like, how many activities can I have? I always try to entertain them. When it's not about entertaining them, it's just like simply being with them. You could take a straw and we could have played for hours. So like that was like the hardest part for me is my job was always like, how do I entertain kids for the camp that they're at? It's like, how do I entertain them? So it's like, do I discipline them? Do I entertain them? Or do I just like sit on the floor with them and be creative and play with the little things that we might have like sitting right there? I think that was like the hardest part at the beginning of the journey.
Yeah, and it's funny just even like that is how similar that is with our walk with our faith.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you first start off and you're like, I have to do all these things or I don't do these things. And like you have a checklist and you're a very checklist person, like very
Yeah.
much that. I'm just like the complete opposite. And that's been like one of the most challenging parts for us is like getting away from that checklist mentality of like do, 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 do.
Yeah.
And I feel like as Christians, right, we start that process like do, right? We have to always be doing something. But it's where we can kind of step back and realize it's more about just being present in the situation
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
it changes.
Exactly. Because then my next struggle was I did everything for them. Anytime I was around them, I was helping them tie their shoe. I was helping them pick out their clothes or whatever they needed to be. I was helping them clean up their mess. And for Josh, like parenting them when he did alone for so long, it was like, no, you're going to be independent and you're going to learn how to do that. And for me, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to start being their bonus mom and their caretaker, it's like I have to do all these things. That's what a mom does. A mom cleans up for you. A mom like takes care of you. So I thought that's what taking care of meant. My mom did a lot for me. Of course, we still had chores and things like that when we were older. So I don't remember what it was like when we were younger. So I was like, I have to do everything. And you were like, Hayden, they can do it. I'm like, they're 3 and 4 years old. They can't do that. And he's like, let them do it. So that was like my next big challenge, I think, was learning I don't have to do it all for them. I think it was a good reading I was reading about in Deuteronomy 6. And it was talking about the Lord's commandments. And then it was saying that we're to impress those commandments onto our kids and communicate with them. And I was kind of taking like different viewpoints and reading all the different versions of it. But really, it's saying that we're supposed to pass the laws onto our children. And then we're supposed to just love them and teach them through our own actions. So we don't have to do things for them to teach them. We're supposed to act to teach them. And so it's like, that's been one huge shift recently for me is like, okay, if I'm going to teach them, if I want them to clean something a certain way, if I want them to stick to their morning, routines that we're excited we're going to have them on in a little bit, but to talk about those, but if I want them to do those things, then I have to show them that.
Yeah, teach.
Yeah, and I think Josh does a really awesome job of that, and I'm working on it. That's been a struggle for me of it's not don't tell them what to do. The Lord says like, teach them by your actions.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I do an awesome job at it, but it sounds weird. But the biggest thing that has helped me with parenting is cells, right? Because it's like, it's that meeting them where they're at, having those conversations, understanding that kids need a story. Like they need to understand why
Why?
something's important, why we don't do something. And it's like when we just tell them, hey, you don't touch that stove, right? It's like we just tell them that, or we give them a story like, hey, you see this scar here? Like I touched the stove when I was 6 and I did this and that happened. What do you think you should do? And then you realize like they're smart. Like they are so smart with what they can pick up and how fast they can pick it up.
Yeah.
But it's funny because like my challenge though, and it's is the opposite of yours, and we're kind of meeting in this like happy medium, which is pretty nice. But it's like for me, I was a little bit too. I don't want to say disconnected emotionally, but I was definitely way too stern because also it was hard, right? It was just me and a 2 year old and a 3 year old,
Yeah.
and really a 1 and 2 year old because we got divorced, when Casey was 1, or right before she was 1, or I guess when she was 1 when we got divorced. And so that a lot of times was me telling a 4 year old, you need to do your own laundry, which is crazy to think about. Now they still were able to do it, right? Get the basket, put it in there, start the laundry, like do stuff like that. But I was definitely a little bit more on the extreme side of like, no, like you always have to do it yourself. And I don't know if that's like upbringing in a sense, just what I saw, or just kind of like my actions of, kind of feeling like I have to do it myself. But as my relationship has evolved with Christ, and I look at it of like what a true relationship with a father looks like, I've definitely kind of gone a little bit more towards the medium there, or the middle. And now it's more so it's like I want to get excited about helping them too, because
Yeah.
sometimes it is loving to just to do something for them. It's like, hey, I know this is your chore, but you know what, I have some time right now, like I'm going to do that for you. And I've had a lot of fun learning that, and then learning how to start like it's okay to like just do stuff for them out of love, and that's not spoiling them.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I've learned that it's more fun to do it with them anyways,
Yeah.
because there's so much conversation that can come from that. Like Harley and I make the lunches every night. It's not Casey's thing. Can she do it? Absolutely. But it's not her thing. So instead, that's what Harley and I get to do together. And we pack them, we talk, we have conversation. But then Casey and I have started, for a while, it was like we would fight back and forth when it was time to do her hair because she has beautiful curly hair. So we want to take care of that.
Yeah.
And that always came from me of like, you are beautiful. Let's just care for it. Let's treat it well. Let's treat it like your temple. But she didn't understand that. She just always was like, oh my gosh, she's got to do my hair now. And so when we cross that boundary of why and where my intention was coming from, we start having conversations. So then that's like our time when we talk. And so I think it's just like learning to figure out who does what. Because, it's wildly insane how the Lord works, and the fact that how our family dynamic is. And no, Harley and Casey are not my kids biologically, but they're my girls.
Yeah.
And the Lord has provided so well of how Casey's so similar to Josh and to you, and like to a T, they're the same. But it's so incredibly cool how similar in a lot of ways Harley and I are. And so for me, it's so easy just to like do things with Harley because we're so similar. We enjoy same things. With Casey, it's so different because we don't always enjoy the same things, but there's ways we can enjoy some things together. And Casey just has such a sweet, sweet, sweet heart but it's hard for her to show that if she's not in like her right mindset. So that's when I've really learned and been working through is, okay, how do I find those times where we can connect, even though it's not necessarily convenient for me, because that's not what it's about.
Yeah, and it's hilarious about like you and Harley being similar because we'll be out in public or anything like that, and people will just automatically assume that both kids are hers because Casey's mixed and you and Harley look alike. So I
Yes.
guess obviously I have a taste.
Yeah.
But okay, so speaking of that, right? I have a taste. My ex-wife. That was weird. So
Just a little, but it's
just a
fine.
little weird. Let's talk about co-parenting because we do have a unique situation, and we have a situation that sometimes makes me feel guilty because we have split custody of a week on, week off, and that's why sometimes when people are like, "Man, you're a parent, and you're running a business, like you're doing so much and stuff like that," I'm also like, "Man, I don't have my kids 2 weeks out of the month. Like we're kidlets 2 weeks out of a month."
Yeah.
And I don't get me wrong, I think we're great parents. Like, obviously, we have some beautiful kids that love us and we love them. But sometimes I feel guilty that, I think of like the full-time parent. And,
Yeah.
the weeks that we have them are definitely harder weeks from a schedule perspective. And it's interesting to like imagine that every single week. Not saying that we don't want that, but it's a challenge. So let's talk about co-parenting. You know,
Yeah.
what are some of the struggles that you have seen, or what are some of the fruits that we've seen in co-parenting?
Yeah, I think so many more fruits than I could have ever imagined, to be
Yeah.
honest. I think that at the beginning, I took it for granted what we do have because I haven't really ever been around people that have divorced parents that don't necessarily get along. I haven't really been around it. So it's, I haven't always seen that tough situation. And so for me, sometimes I would struggle internally being like, oh gosh, that's like, oh, I just want to do that. Like, I just want to be that for them. Or like, I want to, take them to do something first. But it's like, that's not my role. And I have to accept that and know that that's okay. And once I finally accepted that and saying like, I can love them in a different way and that's okay. It doesn't mean that like, oh, I have to take them to Disney for the first time or like, oh, I have to like do their makeup for their first dance or whatever, it doesn't, that doesn't matter. It's how we communicate day to day. It's how we're in the word together. It's how we're teaching them together. And once that clicked, a lot has changed for me. And don't get me wrong, there's still times where it's going to be hard. I mean, you have your kids half time,
Yeah.
and they're not my biological kids, so there's going to be things that like I really want with them that I just might not have. But that's okay because I do get a lot of things. And getting back to like what it looks like is we're so incredibly blessed with their mom because we communicate. Like she picks up the phone and she calls me and y'all's relationship is incredible because when things happen with the girls, you guys can communicate on that and then we can all work together on like what's the solution that's best for the kids because at the end of the day that's what it is. And so that's so different than a lot of people get. And so I think sometimes it's really easy to take frustration and take that for granted, but having that communication, like all being in a group message and, maybe they're definitely better in areas than we're better at as far as like sports or, dance or this or that. But we can all work together because we all bring something very different to the table. I think that's super special.
Yeah, I think like the reason for that is because as our, me and my ex-wife's relationship has grown, there's been this respect,
Yeah.
right? And then not only just respect that, she has for me and I have for her, but I have respect for her husband in so many different ways. And, you have respect for him and I would like to say I feel like he has respect for us as parents as well. And so there's like that respect there, which makes it very easy to do a co-parenting situation, right? In a way where, people are probably thinking like when we say like there's really no stress with the co-parenting situation because of how we're able to do it.
Yeah.
If anything, it's almost that's why I say I feel guilty because it almost makes it feel a lot easier because it's like you have this village that's raising your kids. And a lot of people don't have that. And I think
Yeah.
that's where things get very stressful between a husband and a wife and having kids running around and all that stuff like that. But it's like we really have like this village and you take on, your parents and then, Sierra's parents and my ex-wife and my parents, like we really have such a strong village that has
Yeah.
helped and like we're very blessed in that way.
Yeah.
Where anyone would be willing to step up and help us out with them. And so they have so much love, which is pretty cool to see. And it didn't always start, it wasn't always like that. Right. And I think that was, one of the hardest battles that we had to face during that time was when it was a little bit weird, right? Like you were
Yeah.
struggling with, us kind of coming to that realization of that at the end of the day, Sierra is their mom. So she does get those, first things or,
Yeah.
decides where they go and like all that stuff like that. But I think the way that's worked out is like just such a blessing with the situation that we have because it's a very
Yeah.
non-normal situation.
Yeah. And I have so much respect for her because there's another woman figure coming in their life to communicate with them and talk to them every other week and love them as another mom. But it's like the respect that she has for me, I have so much respect for her because that's hard. That is their mom. And so for her to be so open and loving to me is incredible.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool to see that, like you said, it's people ask us all the time and I can't, there's not really words to put to it of just like, I'm so thankful because we have family members that are walking through very different situations.
Yeah. And if you're, if someone's listening to this and they're walking through a co-parenting situation and it's not good, right? It's the typical dad hates mom, mom hates dad, and like just
Yeah.
like that, the drop-offs are nasty.
Hmm.
Maybe the father doesn't even have equal custody and things like that, or the father sucks or the mom sucks. Like there's so many different situations out there that are really common, unfortunately. Is like we weren't always like this, right?
Yes.
There was a period of time where I went back and looked at some Facebook messages that I sent my ex-wife. Like this is years ago, like when they're probably 1 and 2, and I was disgusted at myself. I was like, man, I was someone that would say something like that,
Mm-hmm.
or I was someone that would act that petty, or be that in the wrong and not even realize it. And so that's the beauty and like seeing how what's been the catalyst for this change in that relationship. It was Christ,
Yeah.
right? Like the deeper we got in our faith, the more positive that relationship became.
Yeah.
And that's the crazy part. And so if you are in a situation like that, and maybe you're with, I'll just give an example of like, maybe you're with a partner, your ex, and that person just sucks. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just, let's just say they just suck, right? Like they're not present, they don't provide, they don't want to be in the picture, all those different things. I would still say that if you just don't even focus on that and you focus on your relationship with Christ and your development, it's crazy what it can do to change the situation still.
Yeah.
And I'm just want to put out there, like, I was the one that sucked.
Yes.
As the
Yes, you
like it was
were.
like, and that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day, a whole other
Yeah.
podcast maybe. But it's like I was the reason that relationship fell and the divorce happened and was like the a-hole afterwards. So it's like, so there was, so I just want to make sure I'm not making it seem like my ex was the one that was bad.
Yeah, no, it's you for sure. For sure. And I think just um one thing I've learned a lot is like the willingness just to be open
Yeah,
and reminding myself constantly it doesn't matter what I want. It matters what is going to be best for the girls.
absolutely.
And I think, for example, schedules change, like be open to change. For me, it was like, well, every time we would get in a flow of a schedule, it feels like we would have to change something because like something would come up and it's nobody's fault. It was just like, oh, we got to change something. And so when we started talking about 1 week on, 1 week off, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine not seeing them for a week. Like that's a lot. That's really, that sucks, honestly. And comes to find out it's been the best thing for them
Yeah,
because they have that consistency for a week and then they're able to like take a day to like regroup, find that new consistency back. And we do a really good job, I feel like, in the fact of similar-ish routines at both households for the most part. And so I think it makes it easier to adjust, but for them to be able to have a day on a weekend day, not like the middle of the school week, for them to like regroup, readjust, and then now be able to have like a good flow for a week. So it's not so much like 3 days on, and they have to switch, and then it's like 3 days on, and then it's ever changing.
yeah,
So it's been really cool to see that of like, okay, once you actually open to change and you actually say like, I'm surrendering this to you, Lord. This is all in you. Then it's like you see fruits from it. So when you say earlier, you said, what are the fruits from it? I think it's the fruits from them, like seeing them thrive in different things.
yeah.
I think it's been really cool.
Well, I love that because like I haven't thought of it like that. Is that the reason why it seems to become easier, right, with our walk in co-parenting is because I feel like all of us have become very open to change. And I think that's great because let's just be real. If anyone has kids that are 8 and 9 or older, or you've had, kids that are adults now, then we realize that every single year it's changed, right? Like they're
Yeah.
changing, the hormones, development, like their situation, their needs change. And us being open to that, makes it a lot easier to deal with for sure.
Yeah.
So should we get to where we bring them on the podcast?
Yeah. So we're going to bring them on. They don't really know, they have no idea what we talked about.
No.
So it's very like, we're going to let them go. We're going to let them talk. And
Yeah. Well, we'll explain it how I explain it to them. It's like if you go to a church that has like not a kids club. It's not a kids club.
kids
but they have
ministry.
kids ministry. Kids club. It's like the gym.
Yeah.
So if you go to a church that has kids club and then you have not kids club, kids ministry, and then you have adult service, I told them that that's what this this episode is going to be like. We have the adult service that's for the adults. So same thing for you guys. If you guys have kids that you would like to bring in and listen to the next part of this podcast, it's going to be really good for them to hear. Especially if you have like some younger elementary kids around the same age. This would be a time where now we're going to kind of combine adult ministry with kids ministry and have a little fun, I think. Hopefully. We'll see what they do.
Yeah, they just know they're going to talk a little bit about their schedule and some cool things that they're walking through right now in their faith and just as a kid, what does it look like?
Yeah, we have
Kid perspective.
three questions for them, and so we'll ask those questions and we'll have some fun. Hopefully Casey doesn't throw up.
She's fine, I swear.
All right. What's up?
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
This is awkward.
Okay, well, let's introduce ourselves. What's your name?
I'm Harley,
How old are you?
9.
Nice.
Going on 19.
What's your name?
My name's Casey,
How old are you?
8.
Going on 5.
What?
Act like it. We told them your throw up story.
No.
We did.
Yeah.
No. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Do you want to
That's
do you want to defend yourself at all?
Yes.
What?
It was Dad's fault. Mom told me to go to the toilet, and Dad was like, no, she needs to swallow the pill as a big book girl. And then I ended up throwing up everywhere.
Hey, you heard it here first. I was not getting mad. I was trying to help her out.
I'm with Mom. She told Casey specifically to go to the toilet, but Dad refused, so it's actually Dad's fault. Uh-huh.
That's why I made him clean it up too.
And this is how
I cleaned it up.
Well, yeah, he did make you do it.
He made me do it. I mean, you're at the age where you can clean your own throw up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know that next time you throw up.
All right, focus, guys.
Well,
Focus.
I was
Focus.
the one who threw up.
Focus.
Well, you did. You throw up. You used to throw up everywhere.
Okay.
That's a lie.
Next.
That's a lie.
All right, so let's get to why we have you guys on here. We have some questions. Did you guys think about your questions?
Yes, I have them written down. Right.
Perfect. Okay. So let's start with the first one. What is the hardest part about being a kid?
Harley, you want to go first? Well, I hate waking up for school. That's never fun. I set an alarm on my Alexa for like 5:45, and then it's like 6 o'clock, and I'm still not awake. That's what then Mom comes in. I'm like, you better wake up. And then I'm like, no, I'm staying here. This is my heaven. Staying here forever. And sometimes I get really anxious and overwhelmed, and maybe like if something's too hard, or sometimes I get a little frustrated, but I control that. I try to control that by praying to God and talking to God, and just saying like, "Hey, I need your help."
Yeah, that's good.
I love it. What about you, Miss?
The hardest part about being a kid is you have to do chores,
Yeah,
wake up early in the morning. You have to go to school, and you get sick way easily. Way easier. What's it called?
Yeah.
And in second grade, I used to get mad at myself, like Harley said, and maybe slap myself.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah,
You should never do that.
the habit.
How have you gotten better at that, controlling that?
I have because, well, it's a new school that we go to, and the teacher never appreciated it.
Awesome. And for question number 2, what's number 2, Hayden?
I don't remember.
I know, I
I
know.
need
What is
assistance.
it?
I'm sorry.
What does believing in Christ mean to you? And by the way, I can hardly read the sticky note because Dad's handwriting is bad.
It's not that bad.
Can you read this?
It's pretty bad.
Well, you can't read it because it's like very far from her face.
So what does believe in Christ mean to you?
Believing in Christ means knowing the true stories of the Bible and going to church very frequently.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
just praying to God and to Jesus.
What's your favorite story in the Bible?
I wasn't prepared for that question, but I forgot his name. What is his name?
I don't know. Don't look at me.
In Genesis,
Uh-huh.
the story of the Egyptians.
Moses.
No, not Moses. The other guy when he.
Zeke wants to be a part of it. I'm sorry. Zeke, don't.
Is it Joseph?
Zeke,
Oh,
don't.
Joseph's story.
Yeah, Joseph's story.
Yes.
What are you wearing?
That's your favorite story? That's a good story.
I've only read Genesis and I'm starting Exodus, so
That's
I
good.
haven't read a lot.
You finished Genesis, which is awesome. And for you, Harley, what does it look like? What does it look like to believe in Jesus?
Well, I mean, I love Jesus so much, and I always lean toward him and pray. Like maybe when I'm having a hard time with something, or like I said earlier, I get a little frustrated, and so I just let him know that, hey, I need your help, and I need you. I need you to help me get through this, and we'll get through this together.
I love that. Have you feel like that has really helped you deal with those times when you get overwhelmed and stressed?
A lot, yeah.
That's good. Me too. I have to do that too.
Yeah.
And for you guys, let's talk about, because we talked a little bit about your guys' routine, right? Kind of some disciplines that it's really helped you guys as you continue to grow up. So walk us through that. You know, for you, what does your daily routine look like, Casey?
My morning routine is about waking up to my alarm at 5:45 like Harley, and then getting out of bed and laying down on the floor for 15 minutes. And then I would normally get dressed after it, make my bed, and then grab my backpack and take it to the kitchen with my slippers on. And then in the kitchen, I would make my breakfast, which is normally rice and like beef or protein shake, sometimes steak.
Most
I
of
like
the
we have
time,
to explain
steak.
that one. We do not make her eat that. That is her personal choice,
Her
and
choice.
she loves rice and beef in the morning
With soy sauce.
with soy sauce.
With extra soy sauce.
I love it.
And then after I finished eating for about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, I would brush my teeth, and then I would put deodorant on.
That's
Giving us the
good.
play-by-play.
And I would bring my Bible in the car, but sometimes I forget to do that, so whoopsie.
It's awesome that you try, though.
And then we go to school.
What about you, Harley? What's your morning look like?
I wake up, make my bed, then I get dressed, but then lay back in my bed. Then I get up, and then I go and brush my hair, and then I eat breakfast in the kitchen, and then I read my Bible for 15 to 20 minutes. Then I brush my teeth after I'm done eating, and then we go to school.
Love it.
No wonder you're always in the bathroom.
Always brushing my hair, yes.
Uh-huh. She does it too much, I'll say that.
Yeah, Harley's a little bit more up and ready in the morning. Casey's a little bit more like, come on, girl, come on.
Oh, yeah. Mom and Dad have to wake me up sometimes, and I'm like, aw.
No, Mom has to wake you up like
3
to-
times.
Yeah.
And then Dad comes and wakes me up, and he's like, come on, time to get ready. And I'm like,
Sometimes I
The
just
day
go in.
just
If she's not awake, I just pull her out of her bed
Oh,
by
yeah.
her feet.
I hate it. And then I was like, what time is it? Look at my watch. Oh my gosh, it's 6.
There are many hard mornings here. And so let's talk about what else? What are some
And then
other
I
things?
end up, Mom ends up coming back in my room, having to say, come on, Casey, I've already woke you up 3 times, and Dad has woke you up, so. I was like, you never woke me up.
Yes. Okay, so talk about your watches. What do your watches do? Talk about like your activity.
We have goals. Like, for example, we have a step goal that we have to reach. We have to reach up to 8,000 steps a day. and we have an activity goal. We have to be active for an hour each day. And we have our water goal, and we have to drink 80 ounces of water every day. And we have chores that we have to do, and we earn coins by doing chores.
And then we have this store app, and I don't know why.
Oh.
And then we have the time, and then you can go, if you hold down the button to, like,
Yeah, you sync it. You sync it up so they can earn coins
no,
and
also
rewards.
that, and you can go to the timer, and there will be like 2-minute timer, 5-minute timers, 10-minute timers, all the above. And then there's stopwatch, and this little badge thing.
It's like a race, kind of.
Yeah, when you win races.
Races.
You should tell them about the watches. Let's talk about that.
And then there's this.
Okay, so
all right, she's gonna walk us through the whole manual.
No. I started
okay, we don't have a
recording.
real link for this, but we'll link it
Yeah.
just to like whatever. We don't have like links for this, affiliate links, but they're really awesome. Actually, we had a friend show us them she had her daughters have them. And you could actually replace the battery in them, but they're waterproof and the battery lasts for about a year. So you don't have to replace it for a long time. And we love it because they can know their goals, they can see their goals, and then we have an app that we actively track it on. So on the app that you can give them coins, you can have rewards, you have your daily activities that you have to achieve. And so it's really awesome for them to see like all of their goals. They like to track how many hours they slept in a night. It shows their sleep track, so deep sleep,
Yeah.
REM, all of that.
Light
So
sleep.
yeah, light sleep. So we love it. It's a fun way for us to like all work together on staying active. And because every time they bring it up, I'm like, oh no, how many steps have I had today? But it's a great way for kids just to stay active and to like have like fun goals, especially within their jobs, right? We don't call them chores here, we call them jobs because we love it. But it's a great way for them to like be able to keep track of it, see their goal, like make it a little bit more fun than just like, hey, you have to do your chores. Yeah, they set timers a lot too, don't you?
Yeah.
To like do different things. So, like I was like, Casey, you have 5 minutes to finish your laundry because it's taking her 3 hours to do today. So I was like, she just started her timer, and guess what? You did it. And so it's just
With
fun.
6 minutes.
Yeah.
And it's been a cool connection point for when they are, over at their mom's house. It's been really cool because we'll get the text message from them. They can text on their iPads over there. And so they'll text us when they hit their activity goal so we can make sure we give them a coin. And it's been great getting that text message, right? Like that, It's just really cool to see you guys, and that's where I'm very proud of you guys for just being disciplined, right? And it's not perfect every time, right? Sometimes we miss our goals and sometimes it doesn't happen, but you guys have started to get more consistent with it across the board, whether it's you're here or you're over there. And I think that's really cool.
Casey, what's your favorite way to get activity?
Do.
Dot, 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 dot.
Da-na-na.
Anytime now.
I don't know. Well, probably just.
Just moving. You love to move.
Yes. And
Never
on
stop
the-
moving.
On the app for watches, there's also an adventure mode where you can do like activities and steps, and it just gives you tasks.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so what's your favorite activity? Maybe you have a specific one.
We usually blow up the air track that we have, and I practice my tumbling, and I just walk around the couch for an hour.
She makes a workout out of it. It's awesome. She goes and does her skills, and then she does like a lap around the living room, and then she does more skills, and then another lap. So she gets creative. She makes her own workout.
That's true, and it's kind of annoying sometimes.
Oh.
Just watching
Maybe
her
you
do
should do it.
it. Hey.
Maybe you should do it too.
That's what I was about to say. Just watching her do it when I'm just literally sitting there playing with toys. I'm like, what are you doing?
She's getting her steps in. She's doing what she's supposed to do.
Okay,
Smarter, not harder.
so to close it out, what's your favorite thing about your routine, your daily routine?
laying on the floor for 15 minutes.
Okay, let me ask a different question. How about that? Let's ask a different question. How does your routine make you feel? So if you do all of your things, you check everything off your routines list, how does that make you feel for the day?
Tired.
Tired.
Yeah, tired.
Okay. How does it make
Casey
you
is the queen of positivity.
Yeah. Can you tell? How does your routine make
means
you
well.
feel?
I'm like an organized girl, so I like to be organized and I like to get everything done. So I'm just like, okay, that's done. Let's move on to the next thing. So
Can you guys tell who is like who?
I'm like that.
give you a hint. You're sitting next to each other.
Oh, that's cool.
Well, guys, that's been fun. You guys want to say any last things? Anything you want to tell a kid out there?
The only thing I like about school is Alpha because I get to see my friends.
Friends are cool.
Friends are cool. Anything you want to tell anybody?
No pressure.
Dot, dot,
Yeah, dot. I had to think about that.
Are you still figuring it out?
Yes.
You get it?
Yes.
You get it? Yeah. Okay. Well, with that being said, thanks for tuning in, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and subscribe, drop a comment, let us know some topics that you would like us to discuss, things that we can figure out how to do life, right? How to do life while keeping Christ at the center of it all. And if you're on Spotify or Apple, what do you do on there? Do you subscribe? I sound so old.
That's a great question. I don't know
Okay,
either.
just hit whatever button that you have to hit.
Thumbs up, guys. Thumbs up.
I don't
You
know.
are old. He's 30.
Goodbye.